nation. Hebrew kingdom building.
My mind's on ya. 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 My mind. Focus on Yahuwah. Focus on Yahuwah. Focus on Yahusha. Focus on Yahusha. Keep your eyes fixed on Yahusha. Keep your eyes fixed on the Most High. Keep your eyes fixed on Yahusha. My mind's on ya. 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 Not on these worldly things. My mind's on ya. Not on the ways of the nations. My mind's on Yahusha. My mind's on the Most High. My mind's on ya. 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 My mind's on. Slow it down. My mind's on ya. My mind's on ya. My mind's on ya. My mind. Man, we in that car. My mind's on ya. 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 My mind's on. Stay right there.
Today what we're going to talk about is sandals. He had them in sports mode. Man, look here. That's another idea. Man, somebody bring back the ancient sandal strap, boy. Man, that'll be it. Some Hebrews, some Hebrew ones. Man, look here. That's it right there. That's it right there. That's it. All right. So we're gonna look at sandals. So see the best way to do this. That was a Thube dad joke right there. I had to use that one right there, man. That's them Jordans, the Jordan Rivers, them Jordan River joints. I like that one. That's it. Oh yeah. All right. So I'm trying to think about the best way to organize this to make this coherent. I didn't have a chance to tighten everything up. Okay, this is what I'll do. Okay. First of all, let's look at what we got into in the Torah portion. From the Torah portion. Who already the Torah portion? Oh. Oh, man. All praises to the Most High. We, for the first day that's through, we still not 100%. Yirmiyahu, somebody need to go upside his head. But I'll pray. I'll praise to the Most High. So, part of the Torah portion was, we'll go here first, was Devarim 25. And if y'all can see, I got it on the screen. Devarim 25 and verse 5, it says, if brothers dwell together, if Akim dwell together and one of them dies and has no son. Y'all check this out. If Akim dwell together and one of them dies and has no son, the widow of the dead man shall not be married to a stranger outside the family. Y'all see this? So this is a big deal because that's a Torah for the one who lost her ish. That's a Torah for the one who lost her ish. She cannot just marry anybody. Big deal. It's not like that the other way around, man. If a dude loses his Isha and they didn't have any children, it's not like no super other than the general restrictions of who not to marry. The dude can go and just get them another female of how they desire. But when a dude who is married to a daughter of the Most High dies, if he dies before they have children, she can't just go and marry anybody. She shall not be married to a stranger outside the mishpachah. I want y'all to get what I'm saying here. Her husband's brother shall go into her. Her husband's brother shall go into her. What's the Hebrew word for go into? Somebody give if they can get that. I might can get it faster than y'all. Don't look like y'all ready. Yeah. Okay, so that's literally go in. Okay. So the husband's brother shall go into her, take her as his Isha, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. So it just says bo, like what's the word after that? So that's really just saying that the brother shall go to her, because this is in English is making it like he shall like go in her. That's not what it's saying in the Hebrew. It's just saying he shall come go to her. Take her as a Isha and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. So what is that duty? I know a lot of y'all automatically assume the duty was to lay with her. That's a part of it. But I submit it's way more than that. It's about covering the uncovered. It's about covering and making sure that she's through. This is a daughter of Yahuwah. And her covering is now no longer here. Who knows what happened? He could have got caught up on the world. He could have died ruachally by getting caught up in the cares of this world, and is ruachally dead. He's gone. And now what Yahuwah is saying is, you can't just go to anybody, daughter. No, I have set up something so that the Akim are supposed to cover you. They're supposed to perform the duty of a Ak. This is above and beyond just laying with her. You're supposed to perform the duty of a Ak. It's your responsibility. It's your duty means it's your responsibility. As a Ak, you wanted the Akim to cover her. You don't just leave her uncovered. You don't just have it. And why? This is about the inheritance. Let's keep going. And it shall be that the firstborn son which she bears will succeed to the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out of Yasharel. This is about a bloodline being redeemed. So the only person who can handle this is a redeemer of blood. Y'all see this? This is the job of a Ga'al Hadam, a redeemer of blood, to cover the daughters who lost her covering, whose covering died. How did he die? Who knows? Could have died in war. Spiritual warfare, got cut down by a Ruach. Now he's gone to Babylon. It might not be physically dead, it could be ruachally dead. He's given over to Babylon. And so Yahuwah intervenes and cuts him off from the situation. Again, it don't have to be, I said, it don't got to be like literally cut off, like literally dead. He can be spiritually dead, like, and the Most High severs the situation. You get what I'm saying? And so now you got Yahuwah has one of his daughters that's uncovered. Nope, that's the job of the Ga'al Hadam, the Ak, to perform, a redeemer of blood, to perform the duty to cover her, so that her bloodline may still be redeemed. So when you intercede and you cover her, you're basically redeeming the bloodline. You're taking the place of what her covering was supposed to do, so that she may be able to bear fruit and that her bloodline may still be able to be redeemed. You get what I'm saying? In the sense. It don't even have to be literal children. Just enable her to be able to bear fruit. Yeah. Enable her to be able to bear fruit. That bloodline may still be able to be redeemed. That's what it's about. It shall be that the firstborn son which she bears will succeed to the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out of Yisrael. But if the man does not want to take his brother's wife, then let it, in other words, if the man don't want to handle the responsibility, that he don't want to be a Ga'al Hadam, now that's not an option amongst the Kodeshim, is it? We basically are Ga'al Hadam, the redeemer of the blood. But nevertheless, if the man does not want to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate to the elders. All throughout this Torah portion, what you'll notice is that the elders were established all throughout this Torah portion. It starts off talking about if a child is, if he's disobedient, you take him to the elders. Then it goes into the situations where if somebody violates a woman, or if a woman is being accused of harlotry, A man marries a woman, she's being accused of not being a virgin. That's basically she's being accused of harlotry. A man marries a woman and says, oh, she wasn't a virgin, she lied. You ought to go before the elders. The parents are. The parents go to the elders and bring it out and to judge the matter. So you go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up a name to his brother in Yisrael. Being a redeemer of blood, y'all, you're not just redeeming your own bloodline. You're redeeming your own bloodline too. But being a Ga'al Hadam, you covering people. You're redeeming other bloodlines too. So what are ways that the bloodlines are redeemed? What are things that we do here? Go ahead, Yirmiyahu. Deliverance. Deliverance. So you moving as a Ga'al Hadam, even in deliverance. You're moving as a covering, even in deliverance. I talked about this on Yom Shishi. We're talking about how to get rid of a spirit spouse. And it is a lot harder for a Ruach to come and infiltrate your house when a covering is in the house, when a man is in the house. Go ahead. Bring it up.
Man, I was just kind of rooting from the sideline. But no, that's what it say. Yahusha said that before, if any man wants to plunder a man's house, he must first bind the strong man, and then he can go in and plunder his house. But if you're trying to do that while the strong man there, it's not going to work. So it's a spiritual concept, and he was using it to talk about deliverance. He was using it to talk about deliverance, about binding up the strong man so that you can plunder the goods. In that case, he was saying that, we got to bind up the unclean spirits, and then you can be redeemed. But it works the same way with us. Like, as long as you moving in your role as a husband, as a ish, as a strong man of your house, then the enemy cannot come in and plunder your goods unless he first binds you up. That's why we always get caught up with work and all these other different things. And, we grew up in even if your father was there, he may have been distant. So he was bound up in other things while you were being plundered.
Y'all get it? Think about what Adam and Eve from the beginning. From the beginning. Where was Adam at when the serpent came to Eve? Why wasn't the serpent trying to come to Adam? They ain't trying to deal with the strong man. That's the covering. They're not trying to deal with the covering. They're going to the weaker vessels. They're going to the children. They're going to the Isha. It's a lot harder for the serpents to get in when there's a strong man in the house. That's why Yahuwah has set it up to where the Achyot always has some sort of covering. Torah have set it up to where Achyot, they don't go without a covering. All this whole thing that we see nowadays with all the Achyot moving around in Babylon with no covering, that is not through, and that is not normal. Well, I'm 18 now, so I'm going to, move out, live my best life. I'm single, yeah. Go out, get your own crib by yourself. Getting plundered. The uncovered, Achyot, are not designed to move around uncovered. Getting plundered by Ruachs. Sometimes dudes will come through and they actually are Ruachs. They are. They are. Just like how you the body of Yahusha. So you can come through and you be the manifestation. You can come through and do the Most High's works on the earth based on the purpose he has for you. You got people who are the body of Hasatan. They in covenant with him, so they full of demons. They coming through to you. They actually a demon. You know what I'm saying? That ain't flying when there's a covering in the house. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's just not. And this is unfortunate, and this is, I'll give y'all an example. Rape is very, very, I can't remember the statistics on rape, but basically it's more of our Achyot have been raped at least one time in their life than not. I can't remember the percentage though, very high percentage though, that our Achyot in the quote unquote black community, they pretty much majority, is over half, have been raped at least once. Well, I don't think that's by chance that the divorce rate is about over half too. Because that ain't flying with no man in the house. That's not flying. As soon as that dude even come around, who's this dude? I don't like him. Nah, I don't want you around him no more. Oh, Dad, you so... I don't care. I love you, but I don't want him... No, there's something wrong with him. He won't even look me in the eye, no. But moms, they don't, they don't have that, they don't see that done the same way all the time. Not all the time. And so, oh, he's cool, he's nice. Dude, a whole demon. And now you got a daughter violated because there just wasn't no covering. Demons, they won't even deal with a female if they know a covering's there. Oh, who that is? That's your dad? Yeah, yeah, what's your name? Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying, yeah. Won't call back. Man, John he never called me back after that. Dad, you get on my nerve. Oh, that means he wasn't meant to be. That's what that means. But it's like that Ruachli too. It's like that Ruachli. That's why Yahuwah set it up to where Achyot always have a covering. Let's keep it. So I just want y'all to see the Ruachal aspect of this passage. Because all these Torah portions have all these Torah precepts have multiple layers to them. Y'all get what I'm saying? All right. All right. So if somebody doesn't want to do the duty of someone doesn't want to move in the duty of a Ga'al Hadam, the duty of a husband's brother, then verse 8, then the elders of the city shall call him and speak to him. Like, hey, man, what's going on here, man? You the nearest of kin. You supposed to cover her, man. What's going on? But if he stands firm and says, nah, I ain't trying to do that. I don't want to take her. Then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders. So y'all be reading these Torah portions, and sometimes, Achyot, some of y'all be skipping over stuff. Y'all don't, in the presence of the elders. In the presence of the elders. Not just, oh, man, he be tripping. So, the Torah said, man, they be tripping. You can throw the shoe at him and spit at him. Nah. In the presence of the elders who made remove his sandal from his foot, spit in his face, and answer and say, so shall it be done to the man who will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Yisrael, the house of him who had his sandal removed. This goes back to sandal. To be a redeemer of blood is to cover your sister who lost her covering to this world. Especially for leadership, it is our job to cover the daughters who lost their coverings, y'all. But that's for everybody, especially the leadership, but that's for everybody. Hallelujah. All right. So the word for sandal is na'al in Hebrew. It's H5275. It's na'al. Man, I like smell boo-boo. I'm trying to ignore. Oh, okay. You be trying to ignore it. Like, man, did somebody? Hallelujah. All right. So the Hebrew word for sandal is na'al. That's hilarious, man. That is hilarious. Nun, ayin, lamed. Na'al. Nun, ayin, lamed. I want somebody to take a shot at this. The breakdown. Nun, ayin, lamed.
The shepherd that watches over the seed.
I like it. We'll do one more. You want to?
Experiencing the seed that is secured to the shepherd.
That's what I got. Okay. One more. We'll do one more. Anybody else? All right. All right. Okay. I'll tell you what I was gonna see if anybody got what I have. It's about continually keeping your eyes on the shepherd. That's the word for sandal. Continually keeping your eyes on the shepherd. There's a few aspects to this now. That's one aspect. Another aspect is it's about the seed experiencing the shepherd. Ultimately, this is about Yisrael intimately knowing the shepherd, like the bridegroom knows the bride. Y'all get it now? Because I means to experience or to know, like intimately know. That's why the word for example, the word for witness is ayin dalet, ed. It means to experience the door. To experience Yahusha, to know Yahusha like intimately. Those are the witnesses. That's a witness, someone who knows Yahusha intimately. To experience the door. That goes to Yada. Yada, that's Yod, Dalet, Ayin. And that's doing the work to experience the door. And y'all know what else the door means. Remember we talked about what the Dalet means as far as, with a woman and man, the Dalet.
Right.
Yada means know. Yod, Dalet, Ayin. So, looking at it from that aspect, this is about intimacy with Yahusha. Remember we talked about it a couple of weeks ago? How we need to get back on that?
Yeah.
It's about the seed intimately knowing Yahusha, the shepherd. That's what the sandal is about. That's why the sandal was associated with the dude not wanting to go into his brother's wife.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Do y'all get it? I want to make sure y'all get what I'm saying? Where that coming from? Testing. Oh, okay. There anybody that don't get that? Okay. All right. So it's about the seed intimately knowing Yahusha. It's about intimacy with Yahusha. That's what the sandal is about. That's what the sandal is about. Go ahead. Oh, well, okay. All right. So, it's about intimacy with Yahusha. That's the sandal. It's bridegroom to a bride language. It's husband and wife language. Yahusha is the bridegroom. Did you know that? That Yahusha is the bridegroom. He's the husband. Did you know that? Did you know that? That Yahusha is the bridegroom, the husband? And the assembly is the bride. So the sandal is about the seed or the assembly or Yisrael knowing the shepherd, which is Yahusha. The sandal is about intimacy with the bridegroom. Hallelujah. All right. That's why in Deuteronomy 25 in the Torah portion, if a man is married to a daughter of Yahuwah and he dies, and they weren't able to be fruitful. They didn't have any children. And it's the duty of the Ak. It's the duty of the Mishpachah, of the family, the Ak of the family, to go into her and to be intimate with her and make her his bride. So if he doesn't, he has to take off his sandal. Y'all see the breakdown of how that lines up? If he doesn't, he has to take off his sandal. Oh, it's the whole wrong scripture. Doggone it. Gave away everything. Daggone it. Like it's not a thub thing if the Ak decides not to cover her. So there's a whole ritual that has to happen, a process of things that has to happen where he has to remove his sandal from his foot. Then he gets basically basically humbled. She is to spit in his face, and it's like it's it's like the elders is right. Y'all gotta understand. Y'all gotta picture this. The elders is right there. Yeah, no, you stand right there. If you're not finna do what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you stand right there, and she's to spit in his face and call him out. So, and then he will have a byword on him as well. He's gonna be known throughout Israel as him who had his sandal removed. Do you want to speak on how, more amount of what you was talking about of how that's associated with land, the sandal?
God, on that is interesting. It says that his name shall be called. So he lose his whole name, and his name is the house of him who has his shoe loose. Like that's a whole byword. That's why I didn't see that. So when you look at let me pull it up. Okay. So when you look at Deuteronomy 19:14, let me go there. It's from the Torah portion a few weeks ago. I'll read it though. I think it's 2 weeks. It says, "You shall not move the landmarks." Let me switch versions. My apologies. All right. You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark, which the men of old have set, in your inheritance, which you will inherit in the land that Yahuwah your Elohim has given you to possess. So in Israel, the way they actually would have marked their territory was by taking an old sandal and putting it there. But in ancient Israel, they would have actually took their shoe off and marked it. So that's why it's saying you're not supposed to remove your neighbor's landmark. That would have been that old shoe, an old sandal.
I was just looking at the word. Do you think it could also mean a continuation of experiencing authority, like responsibility? Because y'all saying, you have to take it off. You have to take the sandal off. So that means you didn't handle your responsibility. And then when you have like authority over the land, it's a marker for the land. So it's like a continuation of experiencing the authority or responsibility or something like that.
So absolutely, that's why I also said, absolutely, I'm glad you said that. That's why I also was saying that the leadership especially, because so it's about the shepherd. So for example, so the shepherd is the leaders. So that is another aspect. That's why it's the job. It's the job of the shepherd to cover, and so certain things. It's the seed experiencing the shepherd. We know ultimately the shepherd is Yahusha, but what he does is he duplicates himself through the shepherds he raises up as well. And so yes, that's absolutely. One more time, bring that out one more time.
Khan. So yeah, it's Deuteronomy 19. I think I said 19:14. Yeah, 19:14. I'll read it again. It says, "You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark, which the men of old have set. See, that's kind of like the key there. The men of old have established it. That's why the sandal would have been an older sandal. It really would have been from the elders. And your inheritance, which you will inherit in the land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you to possess. So they would have taken that oldest sandal and they would have put it as a marker for this is the boundary of my land. This is my inheritance. Can I go into that part? Okay, so he's saying like this is my inheritance here. Because Yahuwah gave all of the children of Israel inheritance, right? Right? Did y'all know that? Okay, hallelujah. So he gave everybody inheritance. And it's the same thing that Musa is bringing out in Deuteronomy 25, because his brother's wife would have been a form of inheritance to him. So if you're going to not take your inheritance, like imagine if it's land, I'm going to pick your shoe up because you don't want your inheritance. And another man's going to get it. You actually see that in Ruth with Boaz. He went to the man. He was like, hey, oh, okay, all right.
You're right on it, though. You're right on it. But you had a question?
My question is, like, you guys keep talking about brothers. Is it like the eldest brother, any brother? How does that work?
So I gotta look at the word for brother. It just means the nearest of kin. So it's the nearest. It's the family. The point is that it gotta be from the mishpacha. You cannot. She can't be uncovered, just floating around, just being in the world. That's what he's trying to say. Like you can't just be. You're not allowed to just float around and just get with somebody from other world of Babylon. No, you gotta marry from within the mishpacha. Who is of the mishpacha? Who's your nearest of kin? And so the nearest of kin will ultimately be his brother, but some they don't got a brother. Well, that don't mean they just scot free. No, you got cousins, you got uncles. The list goes on and on. You get what I'm saying? So when you talk about brothers in Hebrew, that's all encompassing. Nephews, uncles, cousins. Those are all brothers. You saw that in Genesis. Go ahead.
So if there's several of them, can they just say, hey, I'll take her, or,
It's the nearest of kin gets first dibs. But if he didn't want it, then, it will go from there. So let's go ahead and go to Ruth, since he mentioned that. Let's go to Ruth. Let's go to Ruth chapter 3. All right, let's get it. Everything all right? Okay. Okay. All right, let's get verse 1. Oh, no, it's okay. Yeah.
Ruth. Oh, man. Sound like Malachi, huh? Ruth, chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you?
See, seek security, seek a covering. It is not normal it is not through for daughters to just be out there roaming around the world without no covering. That's what he's trying to say. Keep going.
Now Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore, wash yourself and anoint yourself, put on your best garment and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in, uncover his feet.
Do what?
Uncover his feet.
Do what?
Uncover his feet.
Take off his sandal. Y'all see this? They wasn't wearing Nikes back then. Right. This is about removing the sandal. This is about intimacy with the shepherd. Boaz was a Rosh. He was a head in Israel. He was an elder. He was a leader in Israel at this time. He was a Rosh. And he was very close to kin to the Ish who had died. Her Ish, Ruth's Ish, who had passed away. And so Naomi's giving her wisdom. Unlatch his sandals, uncover his feet, and do what?
And lie down, and he will tell you what you should do.
Huh? Because the sandal is about intimacy with the shepherd. Let's keep going.
Verse 5. And she said to her, all that you say to me, I will do.
She was wise. She took in the wisdom of the Ema. Let's keep going.
Verse 6. So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all her mother-in-law instructed her. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, and lie down. Now what happened?
Y'all ever wonder why Naomi told her to uncover his feet? Y'all see now? This is about uncovering the feet. This is about sandals. That's why. I submit, when she uncovered his feet, it wasn't just, oh, let me take off your shoes and lay down. I submit she probably held on to the sandal. It's a sign that I want to be your. I want you to cover me. I want you to cover me. I know. The focus is on, the romantic part of it or whatever people call, the Roman part of it as far as, oh man, look, she's trying to lay with him, intimacy with him, but it's actually about a covering. Right. I want him to cover me because he's the nearest kin to my Ish who passed away. It's about securing the uncovered. Let's keep going.
Verse 8. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled and turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, who are you? So she answered.
Where was she lying at?
His feet.
Interesting. Keep going.
Verse 9. And he said, who are you? So she answered, I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative.
That's how you do it. Keep going.
Then he said, blessed are you of Yahuwah, my daughter.
What did he call her?
My daughter.
What did he call her?
My daughter.
This is about the daughters of the Most High. This is about the daughters of the Most High.
Verse 10. Then he said, blessed are you of Yahuwah, my daughter, for you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, and that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich.
Because what did the scriptures say? You can't just go after anybody. You got to go to the nearest of kin. It got to be of the mishpaka. So that's why Yahuwah had did y'all like that. A lot of the Achyot, Yahuwah did y'all like that. So Yahusha, the bridegroom, y'all got in a situation where y'all ended up in a situation where you were uncovered. He says you can't just go and remarry. You can't just go and just marry anybody. They need to be of the mishpaka. So that's why we got the process in place and things like that. That's from the marrying perspective. But then also you got just from a covering perspective, since he's making sure you cover. Got Emas, Zakim, leadership, Akim. Gonna make sure you through. You got something that go, let's say some, maybe a car issue or something, I don't know. And the Akim is pulling up trying to see what's going on. That's moving in the duty of a God down. If they don't got a husband or anything like that, they're not gonna be able to figure that out like that. Not like one of the Akim could. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to show y'all that doing the things that we do on a day by day is moving as a Ga'al Hadam, moving as a covering for the daughters of Yahuwah. Moving as the duty of the Akim, the duty of the brothers, of the husband's brother. We lost a lot of our people, y'all, to this world. Lost a lot of our people to Babylon, to perversion. We lost a lot of our people to sin. We lost a lot of our people to death, to prison. You know, the list goes on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on. And the Most High set us up to be Ga'al Hadam. We still trying to figure out what that fully means. That's a part of it. I don't think we talked about enough. You're supposed to cover. You're supposed to cover the daughters, so that even though they may have lost their covering, they still going to be able to be fruitful and to multiply through you. Through you. Through impartation, through prayers, etc., etc. Let's keep going.
Verse 11. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request, for all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman.
So she has a reputation that she is a Eshet Kayil. That actually, y'all know Eshet Kayil, that's actually like a soldier. That's like a mighty woman. I know it's, you know, a virtuous, but it's in the form of being mighty, strong. Keep going.
Verse 12. Now it is true that I am a close relative. However, there is a relative closer than I. Stay this night, and in the Boker it shall be that if he will perform the duty of a close relative for you, Thub, let him do it. But if he does not want to perform the duty for you, then I will perform the duty for you as Yahuwah lives. Lie down until Boker.
So Boaz, he was a Ga'al Hadam. He was a kinsman redeemer. He was open to doing it. He's like, I'll do it. Keep going.
Verse 14. So she lay at his feet until...
She lay where?
At his feet.
Keep going.
Until Boker. And she arose before one could recognize another. Then he said, do not let it be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. Also he said, bring the shawl that is on you and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 ephahs of barley and laid it on her. Then she went into the city. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, is that you, my daughter? Then she told her all that the man had done for her. And she said, these 6 ephahs of barley he gave me, for he said to me, do not go empty-handed to your mother-in-law. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day.
All right, let's go to chapter 4. Let's keep going, verse 1.
Ruth chapter 4, verse 1. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there. And behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, come aside, friend. Sit down here. So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said...
Ain't that what you're supposed to do? Remember, Torah?
Yep.
So this is showing you that Boaz is righteous. He moves according to Torah. He's a man of the Most High. So he did according to Devarim 25, took the elders of the city. He got the nearest of kin. And now let's keep going.
Verse 2. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit down here. So they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it.
If you will what?
Redeem it, redeem it.
That's how you know this is about being a Ga'al Hadam, a redeemer of blood. because redeeming the land is associated with redeeming the person.
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's why it was about him buying back the land that she had to sell. So we didn't read the whole book of Ruth. It's chapters 1 through 4, but basically it was I believe it was a famine. It was a drought, and so they had to sell their land and they moved to another area, and that's when Elimelech died. In between that time, sometime between that, and so Boaz is closest to kin. He's willing to buy back the land that was sold. And he's willing to redeem the land, because according to Torah, that goes back to Torah again too. Leviticus 25, if someone comes out on hard times and they have to sell their land, the nearest of kin can redeem it. Right. And you have to sell it to him. You get what I'm saying? So again, the land is associated with the people. Remember, he was talking about even when it comes to your inheritance and land, sandals are involved with that as well. So sandals are involved with marking the land and marking the Isha, because the Isha is land. I get what I'm saying? They go hand in hand together. All right, let's keep going. That's wild, though. That's wild.
Ruth chapter 4, verse 4. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. And the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the custom in former times in Israel, concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and took off his sandal and gave it to the other. And this was a confirmation in Israel.
That was a major confirmation. That was a confirmation here too, wasn't it? That the sandal is very significant, because it's about experiencing Yahusha. It's about experiencing the shepherd. And so, to confirm that he's going to give up the right of the Redeemer to the next of kin to him, he has to take off his sandal and give it to him in front of the elders. So you have 10 witnesses. And that's how it's established. Let's keep going.
Verse 8. Therefore the close relative said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. So he took off his sandal. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Kilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from his brethren and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day.
Man. The move of a Gaal Hadam. Let's keep going.
Verse 11. And all the people who were at the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses.
Let me say this. So part of covering the daughters is covering their children.
Right.
It's so that the seed will not be cut off from Yasharel, y'all, of that bloodline. So let's say we have let's say we have a daughter of Yahuwah, who has a son, but the father was given over to the nations, given over to Babylon. It's the duty for the Akim to raise him up in the ways of the fathers, that his bloodline will continue. That's moving as a redeemer of blood. It is. That's a part of covering the daughter, is by being a father to her son, or sons, or children, or daughters, sons or daughters. But especially the sons, because think about it. You move in as a Ga'al Hadam, you do the duty of a Ga'al Hadam, a duty of a redeemer. And now the son, he moves in Yahuwah and Yahusha. Now that bloodline from the father who didn't make it will not be cut off from Yasharel forever. That bloodline will not be cut off from the kingdom. You just redeemed the whole bloodline without even thinking about it. You get what I'm saying? Let's keep going.
Verse 11. And the people who were at the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. Yahuwah make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah,
Man, keep going.
the two who built the house of Israel,
Man, hold up, keep going.
and may prosper you in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem.
Okay, now this is important. Now look what they say here. Keep going.
May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Yehuda, because of the offspring which Yahuwah will bring out of you, out of this young woman.
All right, that's huge. Because Tamar was like a Ruth. Tamar was like a Ruth. Do y'all remember the story of Tamar? Who does not remember the story of Tamar? All right, we're going to go there. Genesis, real fast. It's going to be real quick. It's only a few verses. Genesis 30-something. 38. Genesis 38. We're going to go to it real quick. Y'all remember it when we read it. Y'all was be like, oh, yeah. Y'all there? Y'all ready? Everybody there? Anybody need to wait a little longer? Okay. Genesis 38, Bereshit.
Verse 1.
Yes, sir. Hold on one second. We have one wait, though. All right, I think we through now. All right, let's do it.
Genesis chapter 38, verse 1. It came to pass at the time that Yehuda departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adulamite whose name was Hira. And Yehuda saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. And he married her and went into her. So she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Er. She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. He was at Kezim when she bore him. Then Yehuda took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar.
So Judah took a wife for his firstborn. That's what you do. That's what you do for your firstborn son. Now, this wife was a daughter of Yahuwah, though, which makes sense just what Judah wanted for his son, right? But remember, your son got to be in a through place as far as righteousness before you try to give him like a daughter of Yahuwah. Let's keep reading. Verse 7.
Verse 7. Then Yehuda took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Yehuda's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah killed him.
Yahuwah did what?
Killed him.
Did they have children yet? Oh, so we need to look at what we talk about in Deuteronomy 25, right?
Right.
Right? So we need to look at what's going on with Deuteronomy 25. That makes sense? All right. I feel like y'all not following me. Let's keep going.
Verse 8. And Yehuda said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother.
So y'all get why they saying this now? Because this is moving in the that's the duty of a husband's brother. That's the duty of a husband's brother. All right, verse 9.
Verse 9. But Onan knew that the heir would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went into his brother's wife, that he admitted on the ground, lest he should give an heir to his brother.
So he didn't want to redeem that bloodline. He was supposed to be a Ga'al Hadam, and he basically purposely, deceitfully and deceptionally, that's not a word, but in a deceptive way, he did not redeem that bloodline. So verse 10, what happened?
Verse 10. And the thing which he did displeased Yahuwah. Therefore he killed him also.
Man. So that's Judah just lost two sons, and we know the story. We know the Most High probably allowed this to happen because Judah, just a few chapters before, had his hand in Joseph being captured and put into captivity. At this time, Yaakov is still mourning the loss of Joseph because of what Judah and his brothers did. And so, man, the Most High don't let you get away with nothing. He just lost two children just like that. And the way he lost them is really deep. He was trying to continue his seed. He was trying to continue. So remember, Joseph was the firstborn. Remember, he was the firstborn through, in a sense, firstborn through Raquel. Through Raquel. Verse 10. Okay, verse 11.
Verse 11. Then Yehuda said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow in your father's house till my son Shelah is grown. For he said, lest he also die like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house.
So Tamar didn't just go and get her an apartment and stay on her own until she met Shelah. He like, oh man, I got somebody set up that I'm gonna marry down the road. Once he gets old enough. But so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get me an apartment. I'm gonna just do my thing for a while until it's that time. No, she was righteous. She went to her father's house, so she had to go back to her father's house because she's never known a man yet. So she went back to her father's house so she can be covered. Verse 12.
Verse 12. Now, in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Yehuda's wife, died. And Yehuda was comforted and went up to his sheep shearers in Timnah.
Stop there. Y'all remember the story now? What happens is basically Tamar positions herself by acting like she positions herself for Judah to cover her. Now remember the same thing. Now remember that Boaz in the story of Ruth, he was like, man, you really righteous. Because you could have got with one of these young people, but you trying to get with me. Boaz was an elder. He was older. He probably could have been in his 40s and 50s. He could have been even older than he was an elder. But her mindset was the bloodline as well. Her mindset was about a cult has to have a mindset to be a Ga'al Hadam too, in a sense. You see what I'm saying? And so she knew it had to be somebody at a mishpaka. So I want to go ahead and I want you to cover me, Boaz. You know what I'm saying? The same thing happened in this story. Let's go ahead and skip down to the verse I want y'all to read. So Tamar basically tricked Judah and laid to where Judah laid with her. He didn't know that was Tamar. And then when Judah found out, look what he says here in verse 26.
Genesis chapter 38, verse 26. So Yehuda acknowledged them and said, she has been more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shelah my son, and he never knew her again.
Man. And it came to pass that Perez was born, basically. Perez was born. So this was a very similar situation. Very similar situation. Go back to the book of Ruth. All right. Let's start with verse 13. Chapter 4, Ruth chapter 4, verse 13.
Con. Ruth chapter 4, verse 13.
Con.
So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And when he went into her, Yahuwah gave her conception, and she bore a son. Then the woman said to Naomi, "Blessed be Yahuwah, who has not left you this day without a close relative, and may his name be famous in Israel. And may he be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has borne him." Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her bosom and became a nurse to him. And the neighbor woman gave him a name, saying, "There is a son born to Naomi." And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of Dawid.
The father of who?
Dawid.
Y'all see this? This is the bloodline of David that came from this whole situation. But keep reading.
Verse 18. Now this is the genealogy of Perez.
Of who?
Perez.
We just read about Perez, and it was a similar situation with Perez being born, wasn't it?
Oh man, that's right.
Y'all see how the redeeming of blood is important.
That's wild.
That's how people like David came in this world, man. You got to be moving in the duty of the Akim. Making sure you covering the daughters, that bloodline may be redeemed. Verse 18, now this is the genealogy of Perez. Perez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Amminadab. Amminadab begot Nahshon. Nahshon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz. Boaz begot Obed. Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot Dawid. Man, redeemer of blood. This is Song of Solomon, or I think it's Shirim HaShirim, Song of Songs in Hebrew. This is chapter 7. Oh, snap, I didn't put the verse on there. I think it's like one of the last verses on there. Song of Solomon, chapter 7. It says, "How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O prince's daughter." Y'all thought this was just a love letter. This is super prophetic. The super ruachal. "How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O prince's daughter." This is about the daughters of Yahusha, the daughters of the Most High. "The curves of your thighs are like jewels, the work of the hands of a skillful workman." Also, when you read in Song of Solomon, it talks about the daughter as if she's lamb. We talked about that before in chapter 4. I talked about the woman as like lamb. But see how the sandals is also associated with the bride, though. Y'all see that? How the sandal is associated with the bride. Moy, did you want to get into how the feet represent the body? Huh? Oh, that was verse 1. I was way off. Chapter 7, verse 1.
So this is something Yahuwah was showing when we went through like the shod your feet with the preparation of the readiness of the Besorah. So basically, when you look at Eastern medicine, you'll see that they believe, Eastern medicine is way different than Western medicine. Eastern medicine, they believe in treating the soul, in treating the ruach, because out of those things, the issues of life, sickness, and all those things come. It's very similar to how Maury Daniel, OKC, he has a very, very similar concept. If you go back and you can look at the video from about 4 or 5 weeks ago when he did the Yom Rishon Boker call, he talked about something similar. But nevertheless, in the Western mindset, we don't really treat the mind or anything like that. We just like, boom, if you swell up, then do this thing. But it doesn't really treat why you swole up. It just treats that you're swollen, right? So in the Eastern culture, even to this day, they believe that the feet are a huge part of treating the body. They have something called meridians, and they're basically portals. And there's 12 meridians in the body. 6 of them are on your feet. So these portals or meridians, if you treat them a certain way, you can actually begin to heal the things going on in your body. Just to give you an example, we do this in our culture. If you sick, let's say you got a cold or you got a fever or something, what are you supposed to put in your socks? Anybody heard of it? Onion, potatoes, garlic, right? Granny had us making a whole stew up in there. So you put like onion, garlic, potato, all those things, and I remember my grandma used to say it's gonna suck the poison out or suck the sickness out. I ain't never really think much of it. That's just what we did. But it turns out that in doing those things, onion is actually one of the most powerful antitoxins. All right, is that right? Is it antitoxin? Antitoxin. And antioxidant. And I know it's an antiviral as well. So that actually goes through those 6 portals on your feet, and they begin to heal you from the inside. That's why I did it when I was sick. I think Uriah had us do it when Caleb was sick. We put onions in his sock. That next Boker maybe that later night, man, his fever was going down. Imai and Hadassah can witness to it. So the feet in the Eastern mindset is very, 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 very important. That's why when Musha was talking about the uncovering of the feet and things like that, they still do that. Matter of fact, in Arabic cultures, so y'all know how we sit like this, right? They actually think it's a shame. If you show the bottom of your feet, that's a shameful thing. So they'll tell you to put your foot down. But anyway, the feet is connected to your entire body. That's kind of what this screen here is showing. It's connected to everything in your body. That's why if you put onions in your socks, it'll actually affect your heart. It'll affect your liver. It'll affect the fever that you have in your head. How is that possible? That's because there are 6 portals on the bottom of your feet.
So that goes back to So if y'all saw Malek's teaching on grounding and how basically when you plant your feet on the ground, how he was showing videos where they were showing how that stuff, man, can do a lot of things for you health-wise just from grounding. So just putting your bare feet on the ground, getting connected with the earth, can revitalize parts of your body, can restore certain things to restore your health in certain areas based on the situation. So yeah, there's a lot of studies where people are using grounding to do things like to deal with like blood pressure or something, or to deal with things like that. But and they've been proven to have an effect, to work because of what Mormana was just bringing out. So the feet is basically represent the whole body. That's the summary. That's the point. The feet represent the whole body. See what I'm saying? So that goes back to the concept of washing your feet. Washing your feet was very significant in the scriptures. And one aspect, Mormana was bringing this out when we were talking to Dawood and Simcha. And I agree, because one aspect I submit is that because it's like, that's your whole body. It's like washing your whole body. For example, they're talking about, you know, this part of the foot is like the entrails, the intestines. You're supposed to, as a whole burnt offering, aren't you supposed to wash the entrails with water? You're supposed to clean the insides and wash it with water to be a whole burnt offering. That's what you're supposed to do. So that's why the washing of feet, Yahusha told Peter, like, Peter was like, nah, I'm not finna wash your feet. You know, you my leader. And Yahusha was like, yeah, you ain't gonna have no part of me unless you let me wash your feet. And he was like, oh, well, wash my feet and my hands too. Hold on, you know. That's how significant it was and ruwakal it was. There's been times even here where I didn't understand it back in the day when we were first washing feet to this level. But I just remember we were doing, Most High I'm just moving in obedience. Most High was showing me he wanted us to do foot washing. So we did it, and then major deliverance broke out. Major ruwakal just outpourings happened. I'm like, man, what was something to this, man? But because washing the feet is symbolic of your whole body being clean, inside and out. Yes. Washing your feet, not having no refuse in the camp. You see what I'm saying? All right, we're going to look at a few scriptures and then we're going to close. But just look at a few scriptures here. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 5. It says, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking into Yahusha, the author and finisher of our emunah, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of Eluah. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Shemot chapter 3. This is the burning bush incident. It says Moshe was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, tending the flock, so that means he's a shepherd? Keep that in mind. And he led the flock to the back of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of Eluah. And the Malach of Yahuwah appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire. It's like most of y'all saw fire today. But the bush was not consumed. Then Moshe said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when Yahuwah saw that he turned aside to look, Eluah called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, here I am. Then he said, do not draw near this place. Take your off your feet. For the place where you stand is Kodesh ground. I didn't listen to it yet. Yeah, I did. That's a confirmation. It's Kodesh ground. So, isn't this about experiencing Yahusha? Isn't this about experiencing the shepherd? The Most High appeared to him while he was tending the flock. That's on purpose. Because he's letting him know, I'm the real shepherd. I actually have you being a shepherd because I'm about to raise you up to be a real shepherd of my people. But the first thing that he said before he spoke to him and told him what he was going to have him to do is to that was the first thing he said to him, take your sandals off your feet. It's like Yahuwah was like, before we even get into anything, take your sandals off your feet. Think about it with the Boaz and Ruth. Before Boaz could make the commitment with Ruth, and before he can do anything, what they had to do? The custom was to take the sandal off and make the confirmation. Yeah. Then, okay, now we can go in the covenant. Now we can talk about this. Now I can cover you. This, I submit, was the bridegroom ready to cover Yasharel. This was a bridegroom ready to make a declaration that he was going to cover Moshe and cover Yasharel. And the first thing he said is to take off your sandal first, though. You see what I'm saying? All right, Devarim 29. Now Moshe called all Yisrael and said to them, you have seen all that Yahuwah did before your eyes in the land of Mitzrayim, to Pharaoh and to all his servants and to all his land, the great trials which your eyes have seen, the signs and those great wonders, yet Yahuwah has not given you a heart to perceive and eyes to see and ears to hear to this very day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes have not worn out on you, and your sandals have not worn out on your feet. For 40 years? What? That is Yahuwah saying, I covered you as a bridegroom. That is marriage language, y'all. Because that's actually part of the duty of a covering, is to make sure that she has on, the wife has proper raiment and things like that. I actually believe there's even a precept that gets into that you have to provide for her. If you're going to cover her, you have to make sure that she has, proper raiment, things like that, like day-to-day necessities. That's what Yahuwah was saying. This is bridegroom, this is husband and wife language. Let me just say that. This is like a husband talking to a wife. Hey, this whole 40 years, man, look, I made sure that you was provided for. But he specified that your sandals have not worn out on your feet. All right, let's keep going. Even in the book of Yahushua, it's the book of Joshua. Look what happened here, chapter 5. They're about to take the land. This is the beginning of the story. This is when they finna take the first city. They finna take Jericho. This is when they crossed, Joshua 1 through they crossed the Jordan, and they had on their sandal Jordans. They crossed the Jordan on dry land, and now they at Jericho, fortified city. They way numerous. They battle hard. They've been established there for hundreds of years. You got these people that was just slaves 40 years ago who's coming in. We supposed to take this land? They fortified walls as high as the eyes could see. Man, if they even think we trying to go to war, all they got to do is get their archers, set it up on the top of the wall, lined up, and just rain on them all day, and they can't do nothing. Very dangerous, very risky, right? But Yahuwah said he's going to give him to the enemy to his hands. So you had Joshua as your leader. You're like, man, I don't care. Yahuwah said we're going to take him, so we going to take him. Yeah. Real talk. I'm just painting a picture of what we read. This is what's happening right now. This is Joshua 5, verse 13. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, a man stood opposite him with his sword drawn in his hand. Now was Joshua like, oh snap, nah man, look here, man, we ain't want no problem, we ain't want no trouble. What did Josh say? Are you for us or our adversaries? Cause he was ready to go. He was ready to go in. He was ready. Oh snap! You got a sword. Who you with? Who you with, Hawk? So he said, no. But as commander of the army of Yahuwah, I have now come. Yahushua, Joshua already knew what time it was then. So Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshiped. Because he knew, oh, snap, we finna take Jericho. Man, hold on, man, this is Yahuwah. Oh, snap. But he had to cross over first. He had to move in Emunah before then Yahuwah saw, he passed the test. Then Yahuwah comes. Okay, let's do it. And he said to him, what does my Adon say to his servant? So look at the first thing that he says to him. Then the commander of Yahuwah's army said to Joshua, take your sandal off your foot, for the place where you stand is Kodesh. And Joshua did so. And so if you keep reading, you go into the next chapter, basically they go and that's when they take the land, they walk around the city and the walls fall down, then they go and they sack the city. But before all that happened, Joshua had an encounter with the Most High. I know it says a man, but the way that he moved, it says Joshua had got on the earth and worshiped, man. That was probably Yahushua. He had an encounter with Yahushua. And he said the same thing to him that that Yahushua told Moshe at the burning bush. That's how you know, that's probably Yahushua. What was Yahushua saying when he told him to take off your sandal, for the place where you stand is Kodesh? He was saying, he was establishing that I'm your covering. I'm going to cover you. What is part of covering? Protecting. What is part of covering the daughters? Protecting. Hallelujah. All right, we wrapping it up. This is like the last verse, I believe. Ephesians 6. Y'all know this one. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with the truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the Basora of Shalom. So shod your feet, that's basically binding your feet. That's symbolic of binding your feet to righteousness. Binding your feet to Yahusha. Yeshayahu chapter 52. This is the last one for real. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings the Basora. That's what good news means in Hebrew. How beautiful, that's the gospel, or the Greco way of saying it, the gospel. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings the Basora, who proclaims Shalom. Didn't it say the Basora of Shalom? How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings the Basora, who proclaims Shalom, who brings good news of through things, who proclaims salvation, who says to Zion, your allure reigns. In John chapter 1, when Yachanan the Immerser was immersing people, they were like, man, I think they were asking him, are you them? No, I can't remember what they were asking. They were just asking who you are or something, and he was saying like, yeah, I'm just, I can't remember what he said, but about him just being, he's like, but one comes after me who I'm not worthy to unlatch his sandals. He's talking about Yahusha because he was making the way for Yahusha. And he was immersing everybody. And they're trying to see who he is. I think they asked if he's Elijah or something. I'm trying to remember the details. Yeah. He's basically was saying, man, look, there's one coming after me who's a way bigger deal than me. Whose sandals I'm not even worthy to unlatch his feet. Sandals. Didn't Ruth unlatch the sandals of Boaz to be his bride? That's bridegroom language. He said, we're not worthy to be in covenant with him. That's covenant language. Yet he chose us anyway. He chose us anyway to be his bride. He chose us as his bride to unlatch his sandals. That's why the apostles, that's why Peter was like, man, that's a whole nother level of intimacy, man. That's like bridegroom stuff. Bridegroom and bride stuff. That's covenant stuff. He's like, oh, no, you have to, or you won't have no part in me. Oh, snap. Okay, hold on. Wash my feet. Wash my feet. Hallelujah. Praise Yahushua.
All right, y'all. We don't have that much tonight. So we starting at 8:15. So would a daughter who loses her ish become a second isha to the brother? And if so, what would that be the only way for there to be a multi? I'm sorry, y'all, let me read this again. She wrote it right. I just can't read.
Where you going? To go get the tables and then do the questions.
Y'all doing the questions together? Okay. Hey, don't be in there playing though. Okay. So would a daughter who loses her ish become a second isha to the brother? And if so, would that be the only way for there to be multiple wives? That's Ima Angie.
I haven't seen an example of that in scripture where that person was actually married. It's always the brother who is unmarried as far as the examples in scripture.
Yeah, so it's not. So it's definitely, multiple wives was definitely allowed in Israel, and that one. If it's the nearest of kin, you couldn't use that you already have a wife as an excuse. So that definitely would be an example where there may be a multiple wife situation. He said also if there are several brothers, Ishas, and all but one dies, would the brother left be obligated to take on all of the Ishas? So if there are several brothers, Ishas. Oh, okay. So if there are several brothers who are married, and all of them but one dies. Oh, with the brother left. Well, no. In that instance, Judah he had a. So the nearest of kin in her situation would be any of the brothers. So they're even. They're all nearest of kin. You get it? So he had a son that was not married, and Judah, he just didn't want. He was scared for one of his sons to die.
Yes.
So he put her off. He was like, well, my youngest one, I'm gonna give you to him, and when he gets older, then I'm gonna marry you to him. That was just a way to put it off, But no, you definitely you can, ancient Israel, multiple wives was a thing, and that's you can't make that as an excuse to not to move in the duty as a Gaal Hadam at all. Otherwise, the Torah would have specified that. It's very clear that no, the nearest of kin. So, for example, all the brothers are even. If there's all of them are married and the other one's unmarried, it'd probably be the best situation for the one unmarried to take on that duty. You see what I'm saying? But if that's not the case, you still got to take on that duty. And in ancient Israel, everybody would understand because it's about inheritance and preserving the seed, the bloodline for that brother who died. Now, as far as man, where was I going with that? As far as the second question.
Can I say something on that one
Go
real
ahead,
quick?
yeah.
So, so the Targum, when you look at it for Ruth chapter 4 verse 6, so it says, "And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance." Oh, you want to grab it? Okay. "Redeem thou my right for thyself, for I cannot redeem it." That's what the brother was saying. But so the Targum is basically like a Aramaic version of the scripture. So you know how you have like Matthew Henry commentary and all them things. I think what Johnny Gill commentary. Is it Johnny? His name not Johnny Gill? What's that dude? I think his name Johnny Gill, for real. I know what y'all thinking. Like, nah, I think there's a commentary. It's Gill's commentary. I was pretty sure his name was Johnny Gill, but you know what? Yeah, John Gills. Yeah. Anyway, so no, but. So the Targum is basically like this Aramaic commentary over the scriptures, and it's interesting because this is how it reads in talking about like the kinsman who didn't want to take Ruth. I put it in the chat as well. It says, "The Targum seems to give the proper sense of this passage. I cannot redeem it because I have a wife already, and it is not fit for me to bring another into my house, lest brawling and contention arise in it, unless I hurt my own inheritance. Do thou redeem it, for thou hast no wife, which hinders me from redeeming it." So, like, it was still his job to redeem Ruth, even though he had a wife, but he used that as an excuse. He's like, man, I don't really want to do that. And it's interesting because I think that they were just so excited that Ruth and Boaz would wind up connecting that, maybe it's just not listed about the whole spitting in your face and taking your sandal, because he did take his sandal off and give it to Boaz, or I think he may have took the dust off. I can't remember, but nevertheless, I just wanted to bring that up because you do see an example there where, possible example where you have a wife, but it's your job to take Ruth, and if you don't do it, then I get her. I got next. That sound bad.
No, that's real. That's real. But see, in that instance, so he was a closer relative. So but she probably didn't. She didn't move with the elders. Probably made the judgment to not move with the part where she spits on him and says, "Okay, this is the person who wouldn't cover him," because he still had a plan for her to be covered. Look, this is a better situation. You know, they got to judge each situation. And that situation, okay, this is a close relative as well. I know I'm closer, but I'm married. Boaz is not married. Right. It'll be a better situation for her to be covered by him. And she already reached out to him. She desires him. She already laid at his feet, you know, et cetera, et cetera. This is who she probably during the judgment of the elders, she probably was like, yeah, I actually wanted to be, I know Boaz, I wanted to be with him. Yeah. And they made the judgment. It probably wasn't, so it wasn't the need for the, spit in his face and this and all this and say you the one who didn't cover your husband's brother. Or moving the duty of the husband's brother. So it's a case-by-case basis when it comes to the intricacies. That's why you got to go before the elders because they have to judge the matter based on the Torah. But the Torah don't cover everything, so they got to look at the intricacies and then make the judgment based on that. So that's exactly what I forgot. That's exactly what I was going to go into is in that situation. So I'll praise to the Most High.
And then her other question, Imam Angie's, was also, this sounds like what the Pharisees was asking you. It's a little different though. It's kind of funny. Also, if there are several brothers, Ishas, and all but one dies, would the brother left be obligated to take on all the Nashim, all the Ishas?
So again, you got to go before the elders and see the best way to handle it. So if the brother is literally the only one, which that's unlikely because ancient Israel are very fruitful people. I'm sure you got cousins to make sure everybody's covered. Everybody has to be covered. This is ancient Israel. They can't just be like, well, I can't take 6 wives, man. That's too much. You can't do that. So in an extreme situation, if there was no other kinsman, then that might have to happen. But generally speaking, that's probably not going to happen. You got cousins, you got other people, and so they would probably have to spread it out and work through the elders and make it to where everybody is taken care of and accounted for and covered. And so that each of those brothers' inheritance was major to Yahuwah. That's why even in that same Torah portion, I think it was right after that, it talks about if a woman grabs the stones in a fight, that's it. It cut her hand off over that. That's the judgment. Because that's messing with somebody being able to be fruitful. That's messing with the inheritance of a man. If you grab it too hard and you damage it and he can't have children.
And he can't be a priest. It was in there too.
Yeah. That was a major issue or big deal if somebody was to do that. So inheritance was a big deal to Yahuwah. Yahuwah was about preserving the bloodline of the people of Yasharel. See, he was about preserving the bloodline and inheritance. And so if a situation happens to where a man is cut off, he had something set in place so that his inheritance could still continue. His seed will still continue. Because the Most High brought that union together. The understanding is the Most High brought that husband and wife together for them to have seed. You see what I'm saying? So if something happens to him, okay, I need that same DNA strand to go through that woman. You can't go and marry anybody else. It got to be a brother or nearest of kin. The best idea is the brother. That's the best idea. Even in science, they tell you that. That in science and DNA, if you have brothers who has the same mother and father as you, like your full brothers, not half brothers, that won't work. But if they're full brothers, if you have brothers that had the same mom and dad as you did, the DNA is an exact match. For example, Yeshayahu and Yirmiyahu, y'all DNA is the exact same match. So if you want to go to 23andMe and want to see where your lineage is from and want to see your DNA reading, you actually can just, only one of y'all got to go and the reading will be, it's the same exact DNA. It's really amazing. That's science to say. These are people who don't know Torah at all. That's why if you want to get, for example, a paternal lineage, you can't, for most DNA tests, you can't do it through the, females can't do it. So what they recommend to get your paternal lineage, if you have a brother, to have him do it for you. That's what we did with Ahmed. We had a brother go and do, I'm not recommending for nobody to do the test, you know what I'm saying? This was a long time ago. But we had a brother to do the 23andMe so we can see what her lineage is and stuff like that. Otherwise, if the woman does it, you'll still get a reading, but it will only show the maternal. It'll only read the maternal for some reason. I guess with the kind of test they had.
Missing a male. Well, we don't have both chromosomes.
Yeah. Ah, that makes sense. So the men had an X and Y. That makes sense. That's deep. Okay. Hallelujah.
And just to land back on that, man, when you brought out the point about how the elders were so involved, that just I just kind of missed how involved they were. It was several times in this Torah portion, like even like if there's a case of an unsolved murder, you had to go bring the elders and you had to talk to the elders, and it just shows the importance of the elders. But what it also reminds me is it shows the importance of being open. Like as a mishpachah, I think America's taught us to operate in our own silo, right? Like, oh man, this Shabbat life here, but then this family life over here. Like this Shabbat life, what we do at Shabbat is one thing, but what we do at home is another thing. And that's just how that's not how it was. That's not how it was in Israel. Like they went and got the elders about who you was gonna marry. They went and got the elders about all these judgments that was rolling out, and your life was exposed. It kind of goes back to what we've been talking about on the Mishpachah call, and I think about like this whole tribal mindset.
The children acting crazy, you go before the elders.
I think that was this Torah portion too. Yeah, if you have a son who's a drunkard and he like, man, I ain't gonna do nothing that my mama and daddy say, you go before the elders. So there really wasn't this oh man, what Melech say? This whole introverted mentality. Trying to find all the introverts so I can look them in the eye. Yeah. He playing with the Rubik's Cube, but him too. See, that's the introverted nature. But nah, there really wasn't like this thing where you had like your own business and the elders didn't have no say in your life. And it goes back to like really honoring them, and that's just why it's important to honor them, because man, they not on that. Man, this is wild. This just makes a lot of sense. And you talk about kingdom nobility, and I will restore kingdom nobility to you. That just makes a lot of sense. But anyway, I'm just saying when you brought that out about the elders, it made me think about how exposed our personal lives are. So yeah, it was interesting.
Man, that's a through point, because in the scriptures it just wasn't about this is my business, this is my personal life. It just wasn't about that. That ain't nowhere in the scriptures. You only see that in Babylon. I'm telling you, because when those secrets happen, that's when that's where the ruachs flourish at. Whenever you got something going on, but you don't want to expose it because you don't want to you're embarrassed by it or something like that, that's what those ruachs, oh my, they flourish in that. If you're keeping a secret before and that you're not putting in the light, they'll flourish and fester and then manifest in all kind of ways until you bring it out. Until you bring it out. That's why you don't see that nowhere in the scriptures. Everything is about being put in the light, because we're children of light. As a matter of fact, the scriptures say the opposite. Whatever's in the dark will come to the light. If you see somebody doing something and you don't say nothing, you will be judged. That's what the scriptures say. Total opposite of how we learned in Babylon. Hallelujah.
Man, is it because I can only think of like 2 times when something was like secret and not exposed. There was a time with Joshua when they sacked Jericho, and then there was a time with oh snap, 3 times. Ananias and Sapphira, I forgot about that. Saul or Jonathan, they was like, hey, don't nobody eat. Saul made that harsh vow, nobody eats. And then Jonathan went and ate some honey, and then they exposed it through the casting of lots, like Yahuwah exposed it. And so man, that whole secret lifestyle, it showed up in the scripture. It was terrible. That outcome was terrible. Everybody died. Everybody died. Yeah, like what Saul spoke, he didn't carry out that day, but Yahuwah would carry it out. Jonathan died. So, man, praise Yahushua for righteous elders. Same with Rachel when she hid them idols. He stood before the elders and lied. All right, I'm going to leave the introverts alone, because they're becoming more introverted every time. So, man, All right. They like, can you go to the next comment? Right?
Y'all know what the worst thing was for introverts in the church? All right, y'all turn to your neighbor and say, it's going to be all right. Oh, I used to hate them. It's going to be all right. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's going to be all right now. Change is coming. And then you always have the extrovert that's sitting next to you, too. Yeah, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. It's going to be cool. And I used to be like this. And then you be hoping that it's over. And then 5 minutes later, now turn to your neighbor and say that. I'm like, man, you gotta turn to your neighbor 20 times today?
And then you got to go do the meet and greet. You know what? Get up and give everybody a hug. Bathroom break.
Church wasn't no trial. I would go to church. You ain't know the people like that.
Man, you saying something.
It's different when you know the Miss Parker, but there wasn't no Miss Parker at church. We ain't know them people like that. Everybody everybody get up, stand up, and greet your neighbor. And so I'll just be sitting there. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? There's always be the extrovert. Hey, how's it going, brother? How's it going? So what your name is, man? What's your name is? I'm just here trying to do church and go to the crib.
It's the one with all the big family that come to you too. You know, it's interesting. You said that there ain't no tribe in the church, and there also is no judgments. There's no order. There's no order. There's no one that can judge. Yeah. All right. So I put a shot here. This is because I know we can't be answering the questions, but this is what Yahuwah was giving me. The definition was the continual experience of the direction. It's very similar to what you said at first. But we move on. So in 8:36. And he said, who are you? So she answered, I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing. You are my close relative. It's like she asked to be covered. She wasn't under the guise that she could continue without being covered. But she asked to be covered. And then she submitted to her covering too. Oh yeah. So during I don't even know what to call that point in worship today. But Bethel kept saying, be still before me, be still before me. She was screaming it. And in Ruth 3:18, that's actually what Naomi told Ruth to do. I think there's something more to that. Yeah, that was Bethel screaming that. Mm-hmm. Ruth 3:18. This is wild. Yeah, because I just read Ruth 3:18. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out. So this is what Bethel was saying. She was saying, you don't know the path. Sit still before me. You don't know the path. Sit still. You heard her? Yeah. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. Yeah, you might want to mark that scripture. Yeah. I follow up with you, Mushal. I think there's something about that. All right. So the Isha is the land. Is this why they always want new shoes? Generally speaking, right? Like it's always like this renewing of the covenant. Not my Isha. She can't stand shopping for shoes or anything else. Oh no. Nah. She rather chill at home, go to a restaurant or something. It's that. All right, one more. That's that introvert. You're right. Why? Yeah, that's that. Yeah. Mushal said he with it too. Yep. Say all right. Shimshon said, "Men of the covenant talk." That's it. That's it. You pass that back.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is what we've been kind of talking about with the men in the covenant. Kind of basically everything that he was doing was like he was doing his job, like, so basically like he didn't even have to, but like it's like he knew like he was the foundation, and like all of this stuff is just like crazy because like it like like when somebody die, it could be chaos. But like that, like this covenant, like that Yahuwah made, it allows for chaos to be order. Because like I said, when somebody died, that's kind of chaos. But for the brother to be able to come and restore order to the family, which is like redeeming the bloodline, is crazy. Because this is what we just been talking about and kind of bringing out with the men in the covenant, and that's what Mushal was bringing out. So like it's real deep and real important. I thought it was interesting that was brought out.
That's very significant, man. I mean, think about you. Think about like Kepha, Azrael. You moved and covered them, and now you got Kepha flourishing. He and Anderson flourishing. You know what I'm saying? That's being a redeemer of blood.
Seeds of Perez.
Like Azrael bloodline is redeemed, man. Like when the time comes in the future, Most High gonna give him a daughter, and he'll be moving in a redeemed bloodline. He might have some Elijahs or the next Yeshayahu or whatever. Hallelujah, man. That's powerful.
Yeah, that's touching right there.
Man, that's powerful.
That's very touching. Yeah, because it was through the process of redemption that the bloodline of Yahusha, like you were saying earlier, came through. That is very, very powerful, man. You don't know what they gonna do. Uriel said, "I have a comment."
I just wanted to say how ruwako this whole lesson is, because it's so crazy. This morning, Michelle had put the pictures in a chat, and I remember seeing a couple of pictures of Menorah. She was with Dawu first, then she was with Yaya and Caleb, then she was with Morin Manu. And I literally told myself, I was like, look at that Akeem just stepping in. I literally told myself that. Like, it's so crazy. That's why I just listening to this lesson, like, wow. I told myself that, you know. And I always think about Jair. Like, out of all of them, he's the one that I always be. Like, when I'm in prayer, I always, because I know he's a boy, you know what I mean? And I know how important men are to Yahuwah and, you know, continuing the generations. And, you know, I be so thankful that for the Akeem, and I be telling myself, well, he still have righteous role models to, like, look up to and learn from and stuff like that. And I don't be caring. I'm like, when you old enough to be in a jungle and Morin Manu telling you stuff, don't come to me. Don't try come to me telling me nothing. You best listen to your uncle, okay? But yeah. And then just listening to this lesson, it have me thinking about times where, like, I rejected the help from the Akeem, you know what I mean? And, like, was just like, oh, well, I get it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, you know, need your help, because I had this thing, like, I don't want to be a damsel in distress kind of thing. So I'll just do it, you know what I mean? But have people like Dawood where I would like just walk out to the truck, don't even be like, hey, can you look, keep an eye, you know? I just walk out to the truck. I don't ask nobody to come with me. Dawood like, okay, bet. Sometimes I'll like walk to the truck and then turn around, come back, and he at the end of the road looking. He like, you ain't gonna ask, but I still come in. So I just praise Yahuwah, but yeah, hallelujah.
Ima Oriya said, Moses being a shepherd, the same as Dawood being a shepherd. Leaders of his people, leaders in training. Hallelujah. You too small for me to hold still, man. I don't hold babies. Yeah, I saw him. He be looking at me at the house too. Yeah, you too small, man. You too small. You still fit in one arm, one hand. I can't do it. John 13:6-7. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Adoni, are you going to wash my feet? Yahushua replied, you do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. Reminds me of Mushal saying back then, hold on. reminds me of Mushal saying back then he didn't really understand how significant foot washing was, just moving in obedience. Yeah, so it's Yahusha says something interesting in that passage. He says, so when he says Adoni, not my feet only, but my hands and da 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 da. He says the one who has bathed does not need to wash except for his feet. And it goes back to what Mushal was saying, how like the washing of the feet is the cleansing of the internal person. Because he's like, man, you already took a shower. I just need to wash your feet now. So it's yeah. And it's interesting because we had that happen today. And I hope that everybody really, really understood what was happening when we was washing feet. I hope everybody understood. It was like a cleansing of the inside. Prayerfully, it was received. And because I know sometimes when we do it, you know, you get them people like, oh, you just gonna wash my feet? Oh, the girl, this is so, like you getting a pedicure. Like, listen. Like this is like, oh, was that too much? I'm sorry. I'll pull back. Let me pull back. I ain't seen nobody do that today. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying in the past. Nobody did that today, but I felt like today everything was really well received. So I can't wait to see the manifestation of what Yahuwah was doing. And Bethel, huh? Oh goodness gracious, honey! I got the pump in the car. Yeah, I hope there ain't no hole in it. It wasn't that low when you started, was it? It's still. Zakar.
Oh, he all right.
His mama said he all right.
He all right. Oh, he not
all right. I bet. Bethel said Yahuwah told Musa to take his sandals off. He was grounded on Kodesh ground. Yahuwah probably imparted some power into him through his feet. Oh, man, maybe.
Actually, I meant to say this earlier. You just reminded me. So the priest. So when you're talking about the armor of Elohim, that's basically the priestly garments. The priest walked into the holy place barefoot, y'all. Kodesh ground. They didn't have sandals. If they did, it would have been specified in Exodus 28. They went in there barefooted on Kodesh ground. There's something really, really significant about grounding. The priests, whenever they were doing the holy work, they were barefoot on dirt, grounding. When they were in the holy place, doing the menorah, doing the incense. Even in Yom Kippur, when they go in the Holy of Holies and do all that work, they were barefoot. And what they had to do was they had to wash their feet first, their hands and their feet at the bronze laver first. They had to wash their hands and their feet, then they go into the holy place barefoot. Hallelujah.
They wouldn't worry about no ants. Beniyahu, O Yahuwah Adoni, the strength of my salvation, you have covered my head in the day of battle. Psalm 147. Psalm 140, verse 7. Come on, touch on it then. Put your feet in. Take off the sandal.
I had experienced this maybe like 2 years ago. I think it was last time we did foot washings, and Yahuwah had been dealing with me about how like foot washes has something to do with like going to war. If y'all remember that, right? That's why Yahusha, it said that he girded himself to do the foot washing. And then you see like the children of Israel, when they came over to Jordan, I mean, it basically washed their feet. That's what it did. Right. And then I didn't see it till just now when Musha was told to take your sandals off for you on Kodesh ground. he was basically just about to go to war with Mizraim. And the same thing with Yahusha. He said, take your sandals off. He finna go to war, right? So, and you talking about how it's like a covering. It's to cover. So that's what that verse reminded me of. It's like Yahuwah covering us through that foot washing, because what we about to go through is, like a battle, so to speak. A battle, so praise Yahuwah.
So Hadassah put the scriptures in here, and then she said the brother with the same DNA reminds me of Avatar. Right. Yeah. It was his twin brother. And he was the only, so yeah, let me say what she said on the mic. That's a great point. So on the first Avatar, Avatar 1, we just watched Avatar this year, so we still pretty excited about it. Yeah, Avatar 2 made me angry. But all right, so first Avatar. They create the Avatar body, right? And then it was for his brother who was I think he was a Marine too or something like that, right? Yeah. And he was but he dies. So the only one that could get into the body of the Avatar was his twin brother. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Because of the DNA. Dang, I want to go home and watch that now. Yeah, Avatar 2 made me so angry, man. He just...
No, that's really deep, because even this Torah precept that we read, and the precept that we read in y'all in Devarim 25 from the Torah portion, so a lot of times, I submit that a lot of times when that needs to be put in place as far as the Torah for a husband's brother is during war. That's usually that's one big time when somebody may be married, they don't have children yet, but they lose their husband. War. And so that's when you get the nearest of kin. Yes. And that's probably one of the reasons why that Torah is in there, for them to stay home with them a year before they go to war. But for somebody to die before they have children, that's not usually, that's somebody dying young. This is about young people. Usually. They had no children, they've been married, and the husband is lost. Most people, once they marry, they having children right away.
Yeah, there's a Torah precept for that. Like if it's time to go to war and you just got married and you haven't had any seed, he says, go, like, stay back and do something with your house so that another one doesn't. Cheer up your wife. Stay back and cheer up your wife. So it kind of makes me think about what you were saying earlier about how maybe this is really about wickedness. Because you wouldn't be out there warring and not have seed like that unless something happened with the baby during something like that. But you had a whole year, so the baby would have been born. And I don't know that it applies to a woman who lost a child. But when you think about a woman whose husband could not give her any seed, it just makes me think that maybe this is more about wickedness, like what you said from the beginning. Like you had somebody who was out there lost in the world. Like you look at Judah's sons. Judah's sons was wicked. You look like Eli's sons, the priest. His sons was wicked. And it almost makes me wonder about Ruth was it Ruth's husband? Because when you start off in Ruth, they're in a land that's not Israel, to my understanding. I think they're with the Moabites. So it's like, wait, what are you doing with the Moabites? Because there was even a Torah portion. I mean, maybe they fell I think there's probably even more there because all these gates that Yahuwah set up, because it's like, man, if you with the Moabites, that means you probably sold your land because of hard times, or maybe Ruth sold it. But the Torah portion tells you you're not even supposed to do that. Well, not the Torah portion. The Torah tells you you're not supposed to sell your land because it's not yours to sell. So it makes me wonder if they was just kicking it with the Moabites, which I don't think they were supposed to be doing that.
So his name was Eli. It's Elimelech. Malu was king. Malu was king. But it's for sure that's Eli. So I think that's interesting as well. But yeah, I was thinking that as well. That Ahimelech might have been into some sort of wickedness or something. He might have moved in a way that he wasn't supposed to, and so that caused him to. The Most High might have took him out, like with Onan and them.
That's what I'm thinking. Cause it's like Yahuwah keeps a wicked seed from being in the land.
So that's another time when you'll see that happen a lot, like in the wilderness where the Most High would take out thousands of people.
Daughters of Jehoshaphat.
So things like that.
Yeah, the daughters of Jehoshaphat said that our father died in his own sin. He didn't die with the people in the wilderness. He was probably young. Like, man, you brought that out. Torah portion? No, Midrash, I think. Yeah. So Hadassah says, so through to know that Yahuwah makes sure to cover his daughters, makes me feel special and loved. Hallelujah. Uriel said, I know, right? Praise his Kodesh self. And that's it. Hallelujah.
Rebirth of a nation. Hebrew kingdom building.